On the night of July 29, 2016, a tragic event unfolded in Houston, Texas, that shocked the community and garnered nationwide attention. Antonio Armstrong Sr., a former NFL linebacker, and his wife, Dawn Armstrong, were found shot in their bedroom. Their 16-year-old son, Antonio Armstrong Jr., called 911, reporting that he had heard gunshots and seen a masked intruder. The investigation, however, took a dramatic turn, leading to Antonio Jr.'s arrest and subsequent trials for the murders of his parents. The Armstrong case is not only a harrowing tale of family tragedy, but also a significant legal and social issue. It touches on themes of youth violence, family dynamics, the reliability of circumstantial evidence, and the complexities of the juvenile justice system. As we delve into this case, we aim to provide a detailed and balanced account, examining every facet to understand the truth behind the headlines. Antonio Armstrong Sr. was a man of many talents and accomplishments. Born and raised in Houston, he excelled in football from a young age, eventually playing as a linebacker in the NFL for teams such as the Miami Dolphins and the San Francisco 49ers. After retiring from professional football, Antonio Sr. dedicated his life to motivational speaking and coaching, inspiring young athletes and community members with his story of perseverance and success. Dawn Armstrong was known for her warm personality and deep commitment to her family and community. She played an active role in her children's lives, supporting their academic and extracurricular endeavors. Dawn's nurturing spirit extended beyond her family, as she was involved in various community activities and church functions, making her a beloved figure in the neighborhood. Antonio Armstrong Jr., the middle child of the Armstrong family, was a typical teenager with dreams and ambitions. He was an athlete like his father, playing football and showing promise in his sports career. However, as with many parent-teen relationships, there were tensions and challenges. Antonio Jr.'s relationship with his parents, particularly the strict discipline enforced by his father, would later become a focal point in the investigation and trials. On the night of July 29, 2016, the Armstrong household was plunged into chaos. Around 2:15 a.m., Antonio Jr. made a frantic 911 call, reporting that he had heard gunshots and seen a masked intruder fleeing the scene. Police arrived quickly, finding Antonio Sr. and Dawn in their bedroom, both suffering from gunshot wounds. Despite efforts to save them, Dawn died at the scene, and Antonio Sr. succumbed to his injuries later at the hospital. The 911 call made by Antonio Jr. was a critical piece of evidence. In the call, he described hearing gunshots and seeing an unknown assailant. This initial report led investigators to consider a home invasion as the primary theory. However, inconsistencies in Antonio Jr.'s account and the absence of evidence supporting an intruder's presence soon shifted the focus of the investigation. The crime scene presented a perplexing picture. The house showed no signs of forced entry, and the security system had been deactivated. A .22 caliber pistol was found on the kitchen counter, next to a note that read, "I've been watching for a long time." This evidence initially suggested premeditation by an outsider, but as investigators dug deeper, the narrative began to change. In the immediate aftermath, the police considered several theories, including a targeted attack on Antonio Sr. due to his public profile. However, the lack of forced entry and the positioning of the evidence led them to explore the possibility of an inside job. As the investigation progressed, several key pieces of evidence emerged. The gun used in the murders belonged to Antonio Sr. The security system was deactivated, requiring intimate knowledge of the household. There were no signs of a struggle or forced entry, suggesting the perpetrator was familiar with the home. Antonio Jr.'s conduct during the investigation raised eyebrows. While he maintained that he saw an intruder, inconsistencies in his story and his demeanor under questioning led investigators to scrutinize him more closely. His behavior, combined with the physical evidence, gradually shifted suspicion towards him. As the investigation continued, the intruder theory became increasingly untenable. The absence of any external evidence pointed investigators towards the possibility of an inside job, with Antonio Jr. emerging as the primary suspect. Investigators compiled a case based on circumstantial evidence. The gun belonged to the family. Antonio Jr. had the knowledge and means to deactivate the security system. There were no signs of forced entry or struggle. Investigators explored potential motives, including strained family dynamics and Antonio Jr.'s alleged frustration with his parents' strict rules. They also considered psychological factors that might explain such a drastic act, although the defense would later argue that these theories were speculative and lacked concrete evidence. The first trial began in April 2019, with the prosecution presenting a narrative of a troubled teenager driven to drastic measures. They highlighted the circumstantial evidence and suggested a motive rooted in familial discord. The defense countered with character witnesses and emphasized the lack of direct evidence linking Antonio Jr. to the crime. The trial ended in a mistrial due to a hung jury, unable to reach a unanimous verdict. A second trial in October 2019 followed a similar pattern, with both sides reiterating their arguments. Despite the intense scrutiny and media coverage, this trial also ended in a mistrial, leaving the case unresolved. The prosecution's strategy focused on painting a picture of a troubled relationship and leveraging the circumstantial evidence to suggest guilt. The defense aimed to dismantle this narrative, pointing out the absence of direct evidence and highlighting Antonio Jr.'s positive attributes and lack of prior violent behavior. The trials attracted significant media attention, with public opinion divided. Some believed in Antonio Jr.'s innocence, citing the lack of direct evidence, while others were convinced of his guilt based on the circumstantial evidence presented. The prosecution argued that Antonio Jr. was frustrated with his parents' strict discipline and high expectations. They suggested that this tension led to a premeditated act of violence. The evidence presented included witness testimonies about family dynamics and expert analysis of behavioral patterns. The defense countered by emphasizing the lack of direct evidence linking Antonio Jr. to the crime. They brought forward character witnesses who testified to Antonio Jr.'s good nature and lack of prior violent behavior. The defense also questioned the reliability of the circumstantial evidence and pointed out potential flaws in the investigation. Circumstantial evidence played a crucial role in the case against Antonio Jr. While there was no direct evidence, the prosecution argued that the totality of circumstantial evidence pointed to his guilt. This included the deactivated security system, the lack of forced entry, and Antonio Jr.'s inconsistent statements. The defense, however, argued that circumstantial evidence is inherently unreliable and should not be the sole basis for a conviction. The Armstrong case had a profound impact on the local community. Antonio Sr. and Dawn were well respected and loved, and their tragic deaths left a deep void. The community rallied around the surviving family members, offering support and assistance during the difficult times. The case also had long-term effects on those directly involved. Friends and relatives of the Armstrong family experienced grief and trauma, while those who supported Antonio Jr. faced the emotional burden of believing in his innocence, despite the legal battles. The case sparked broader discussions about youth violence and the treatment of juveniles in the justice system. It highlighted the complexities of prosecuting young individuals for serious crimes and raised questions about the appropriate balance between punishment and rehabilitation. As of now, Antonio Jr. remains in legal limbo, with the case unresolved due to the mistrials. He continues to maintain his innocence and is supported by a network of family and friends who believe in his innocence. There are ongoing efforts to appeal the case and seek a resolution. New evidence or developments could potentially shift the direction of the case, but for now, it remains an open and contentious issue. The Armstrong family and the community continue to seek justice for Antonio Sr. and Dawn. While the legal battles have been long and arduous, the quest for truth and justice remains a driving force for those involved. The tragic deaths of Antonio Armstrong Sr. and Dawn Armstrong, and the subsequent legal battles faced by their son, Antonio Jr., have captivated and divided the public. The case is a complex web of familial relationships, circumstantial evidence, and legal challenges. The Armstrong case underscores the difficulties of the justice system in handling cases involving juveniles and serious crimes. It raises important questions about the nature of evidence, the reliability of circumstantial evidence, and the need for a fair and balanced approach to justice. As the case continues to unfold, the quest for truth and justice remains paramount. The story of the Armstrong family is a poignant reminder of the fragility of life and the complexities of human relationships. It is a case that will undoubtedly continue to be studied and debated for years to come. Thanks for watching our video. Please don't forget to subscribe.